Welcome to a Rome Total War tier list, but this time we are ranking every single temple in the game. This is the name of the temple, this is the faction that can build it, this is the max tier available, and this symbol is for the temple's theme. Starting this list off, we have the trade temples. Trade being the easiest way to make money in the game. The Brutii have Mercury, Greek's Hermes, British, Britannia, Carthage and Numidia, MELKOR. Tier 1, these provide plus 5% happiness and 5% trade. The Britannia is capped at tier 3 with plus 15% happiness and 15% trade. MELKOR is capped at tier 4 and Mercury and Hermes get tier 5. 25% happiness, 25% trade with 10% health and 1 experience on units. These are fantastic temples at making money. However, the counter argument is money is so easy to make in the game anyway that you don't always actually need the temple. Still, it's one of the best, so Brutii and Greeks go A tier, like so. MELKOR goes low A tier, and Britannia, because it is capped at tier 3, it just has to be B tier. Still, good temples overall, definitely go for them in most of your cities, but they just don't quite hit that S tier god-like perfection. The next batch is the population growth temples, starting with the fertility temples. Julii has Ceres, Egypt Isis, and the Germans have Freya. These temples provide a basic 5% happiness bonus and 0.5% population growth per level, with the Germans getting screeching women from tier 1. However, the Germans are set back, given they cannot possibly build anything beyond tier 3, meaning mid-game that extra population growth means very little. They are capped at 15% happiness, 1.5% population growth, where the Julii and Egyptians get 35% happiness, 2.5% population growth, and 10% bonus due to law. Overall though, I will rank the Julii Ceres higher. Reason being, as Egypt, you are surrounded by a lot of wheat anyway, which drastically improves population growth, to the point where you don't need temples. The Julii, however, both lack wheat and need population growth fast to help get those Marian reforms, making it more valuable to them overall. B tier for Ceres, as they could do with a city or two having this for the Marian reforms, but beyond that, more population just means more public order issues later down the line. C tier for Egypt, as it does its job, but they've got so much wheat anyway, they don't really need it. In some far off city that's not trading with any wheat city, maybe you could eventually have a use for it. And C tier for the Germans, just lower than Egypt I think, given they are capped. Unless you really like screeching women, you may want to play S tier, but I can swipe a pass on them. Side note, this is less likely to be an issue in the remaster, as public order penalties from growth are patched. If you are playing Rome Remastered, Julii are definitely an A tier. Germans, B tier, I would actually put them above Ceres, and Egypt, C tier but higher. Again, you're less likely to have those public order side effects from high populations on the remaster, so on that version of the game they actually become a lot more viable. In a similar vein, we have the healing temples, which provide health benefits. Brutii have Juno, Seleucids Asclepios, British, Brigantia, they're really creative with the names, Britannia, Brigantia, and Egypt has Imhotep. 5% happiness and 5% health each tier. At max tier, 25% happiness, 25% health, 10% trade, and plus 2 experience to all new units. Worse than fertility temples. The British Brigantia is slightly different as it has druids from tier 3, but it is still capped at tier 3. And with the population growth, it's really just the same issue as before. This is a temple that you will only want a couple of across your entire empire. For the Brutii, it can help you get the Marian reforms, and for all factions except Britain, that late game +2 experience is valuable. But tier 5 comes far too late. By the time you are recruiting from cities with tier 5 temples, you are not in a desperate need for that +2 experience at all. B tier for the Brutii, for the Marian reforms. C tier to the Seleucid Empire. I'll put them slightly, I think they go above Egypt though. And C tier for Imhotep with Egypt. And Brigantia, again it's basically the same as the Freya temple, but you get druids instead of screeching women. I'll have to put it there, still C tier. At the end of the day, the exact specific order they're all in doesn't matter too much, as long as they're in the right category, but I'm trying my best. For Rome Remastered, Juno is A tier, Asclepios is B tier. Again, let's put it up, let's put it up to there. Brigantia, B tier, but once you get to tier 3, delete it as you don't need the population graph. So I'll put it there. Same with Freya, once you get to tier 3, you can probably delete it. You really don't need the druids. And Imhotep, it still has to be a C tier as you really don't need it. Farming temples provide farming boosts, which help economic output from farms and population growth. Carthage and Numidia get Tanit, Dacia get Bendis, and Macedon gets Demeter. Tier 1, 5% happiness +1 farming, which equates to 0.5% population growth, 5% extra farming income. Dacian Bendis is capped at tier 3, so C tier. As for food helps, but it is limited by tier 3, but higher than healing and fertility because farming also makes money. So yeah, it has to go top of C tier. Remaster, I think it definitely steps more into higher B tier. I'll just put it slightly below Asclepios. Or does it go above Asclepios? Either way, they're both very close. Tanit is capped at tier 4, 20% happiness and +4 to farming. B tier for Numidia, as they do need to grow their early settlements fast, but they are near wheat settlements anyway, near Carthage, so they're not really that desperate for it. Yeah, I'll put it just above Ceres, and the Remaster, it has to be A tier. Yeah, I think again just above Remastered Ceres as well. Same with Tanit. But I have to say D tier for Carthage's Tanit. Carthage gains nothing out of this. Reason being, Carthage and local cities grow so fast due to the wheat and trade that cities just end up revolting. The 20% from happiness is not going to save the player. And the extra population growth just means more rebellions, as Carthage go Bal in high growth cities and go milk cart in the rest for trade. You don't need more population, and it will only cause more trouble than it is worth. Same argument with Egypt, but at least Egypt gets tier 5, which helps to combat those penalties, but Carthage is capped at tier 4. Carthage is like a modern day Bangladesh, it really does not need more people. And the Remaster, C tier, but keep it well away from weak provinces. I'm gonna have to put it low C tier. Oh, but you do get money from farming. I'll say there. Macedon, however, has access to tier 5. 25% happiness, +5 farming, 10% law, 10% trade. The strategy for Macedon, I think, is to go for this in Thessalonica, at least early on. You can switch it out later. Reason being, Thessalonica can get you the most elite units in the game extremely early on. Check out my Macedon guide to find out how to get the best Doom stack right at the start of the game. For this reason, the Demeter is A tier. Top of A tier. You don't need it, in every city. But in Thessalonica, it can get you super elite pikemen so early on that it is just wonderful. And for their remaster, I am leaning towards S tier. I'll put it in S tier for now, because it doesn't come with the same population growth side effect. But then again, you only really need it in one city. Can a temple that you build in just one city be S tier? For Macedon it might be, because of how OP their roster is. I'll keep it there for now, but I might switch it out later. Last of the population growth temples, we have love temples. Greeks and Pontus get Aphrodite, and Scythia gets Api, first of all. Quick edit, I thought this was 1% population growth per tier. So tier 1, 1% growth, tier 2, 2% growth, etc. It is not. It is 0.5% growth per tier, just like the health temples. Still, I think my ranking is pretty much the same. Tier 1, 5% happiness and plus 1% population growth. Tier 2, Scythia gets headhunters, or headhunting maidens, and Scythian noblewomen at tier 3, alongside 15% happiness and 3% population growth. But they are capped here. At tier 5, Aphrodite gets 25% happiness, 5% population growth, the highest it is anywhere, 10% law, 10% trade, and plus 1 experience. The amount of population growth here is better than any other temple or building by far, allowing you to get late tier units much earlier. For Scythia though, given everything is capped at tier 3, they are less desperate for the population. They get good unique units though, but they take 2 turns to recruit, and Scythia has a lot of great cav options anyway. They don't need more cavalry. Top B tier, slightly below trade though. And for the remaster it has to go A tier. But yeah, that's the highest I can go. Problem is, it's just capped at tier 3, and Scythia, they don't need the population. I guess they get good units though, so I guess that's something. But there's other options that they can still recruit anyway. I'm gonna have to go B tier. They just don't need it. And if you do, it's just at the early game to develop your cities and then you delete it. You know what, you can delete it. So I'll say, get it, it's good, it's A tier on the remaster, but be prepared to delete it and switch it out for something else. Aphrodite comes with a weakness as well. Once you get to tier 4 and tier 5, it's still providing more and more population growth, which you don't need. You want the population growth bonus to stop, to halt at tier 3, and then have it provide other bonuses. But this is just going to have your cities spiral completely out of control. But again, if you just keep it as a temporary thing to build up your cities and then delete it, then it has a lot of value. I'm gonna have to put it B tier. I'll put it above a trade temple though, of Britannia. And as for the remaster, these do have to definitely scrape A tier if Api is A tier. It's better than Ceres and Juno, but again, we've got to be mentally prepared to delete these temples. I don't know if it's perfect, but I'm going to put them mid-A tier. I don't know how much praise I can sing for the temple, where in the end you are going to delete it anyway. So we'll put it in A tier, it's good, but once you've got your cities at tier 4, you don't need it anymore, get it swapped with something else. Next on the ranking, we have the Law Temples, which provide a mixture of happiness and law. The Julii have Jupiter, Greeks, Athena, Armenia, Amazd, yeah, whatever, and Scythia, Pape. Each level provides 5% happiness, good for public order, 5% law, good for lowering unrest, helping with public order and lowering corruption. Scythia is capped at tier 3, 15% happiness, 15% law, C tier, the ultimate meh. But it is better than, I think, these health temples. You don't want to delete it just sits there, it keeps your city from rioting, and you're okay. The tier 5s provide 35% happiness, 25% lore, meaning a 55% bonus to public order in total. Armazd is the worst here, simply because it only goes up to tier 4. Athena goes up to tier 5, but Jupiter is the best as tier 5 also includes the legendary Arcani. Okay, this is an absolutely worthless unit, but it is at least something extra than Athena. Overall, all of them high B tier in that order. They're great, they do the job, but they are nothing special. Pontus and Macedon have Zeus, which are exactly the same, but their tier 5s are 25% happiness, 25% lore, plus 2 to farming, 2 experience, and plus 2 missiles. For Pontus, these late game military stats are very valuable, and they have nothing else like it, making it better for them. Macedon, however, already has Artemis, which I will talk about later, which provides that same missile boost anyway. So, B tier. And it provides less happiness than these ones, so it has to go a little lower in B tier, I think. Yeah, maybe Pontus can go there. Yeah, overall though, these Law Temples, they are fairly meh. It's really just public order stuff, and they might have something special here or there. So most of these are gonna be B tier, and there's quite a lot of them as you can see. Parthia has only one temple, to Zoroaster. Same again, but at tier 5 there are no extra bonuses. 25% happiness, 25% lore, that is it. This is the only tier 5 temple that doesn't have something else randomly thrown in there. It is Parthia's only temple, so they have to build these dull things in every single city. So technically, because they have no other choice, it is technically speaking S tier for the faction, but overall in the game, it's fairly meh. It has to therefore go B tier, as it provides no extra bonuses. There's nothing negative to say about it. You need it in every city, but there's nothing special about it. I think it's just low B. Maybe high C. Again, it's just one of those meh temples. Like, yeah, it does its job. Scipii gets Saturn, and Egypt gets Horus. Same as before, but at tier 5, they get +1 to weapons and +1 armour on all recruits, which makes them a little bit more valuable. Basically the same as Zeus, but they offer different stuff. So I think it is better than Zeus. Yeah, does it beat Aphrodite? Nah, it's better than Zeus. It's not on Armazd level. Actually, that being said, it's these ones that provide 55% public order. Armazd doesn't really do that. So I'm going to move Armazd down. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, that's good. Next is the Egyptian Temple of Set, which is identical to Horus, but at tier 5, 35% happiness, 25% lore, 1% population growth and 10% health. Overall, despite the extra 10% happiness bonus, I think Horus is better for Egypt than Set. The reason being, Egypt doesn't need more people, especially at tier 5. You don't need this health bonus, you don't need this population growth bonus. If anything, once you've reached tier 5, you want your population to start dipping a bit, or you're going to have a massive public order penalty. It's going to have to probably go C tier, or maybe low B. It's lower than Horus. It's just weaker Horus. Then again, you don't have to build the tier 5. You could build it to tier 4 and just drop it there. You know what, it's low end of the Law Temples. Still B tier though. It does its job. Actually, what Horus beats it in every way. You should therefore never build the Temple of Set. And therefore, if you never build it, it should be D tier. Because that's what I did with Tanit. Yeah, never build this. Horus is better in every way. Actually, it's literally a copy and paste, but it's only different at tier 5. So yeah, just always draw Horus. But I'm trying not to factor in the faction too much of why Zoroaster would be S tier, given that it's the only one that can build. Nah, I think that's unfair. It's... Oh. Do I judge the temple for what it is, or for what it means to the faction? If it's for what it is, it's here. If it's for what it means to the faction, it's here. I've been judging all of them as close to what it is as possible. I do try to factor in the faction though, as we can see with Demeter and Tanit. Either way, B tier. You get the idea. The final 4 Law Temples provide units. Carthage and Numidia have Bal, and the Gauls and Spanish have Essus. Same as before, but Spanish Essus gets Naked Fanatics at tier 2, and Bull Warriors at tier 3. Gallic Essus gets Druids at tier 3. Carthage gets the Sacred Band at tier 4. Numidia doesn't actually get any units, but it's still Bal, so it belongs with Carthage anyway. Druids and Naked Fanatics are not that great. Bull Warriors, however, are deadly, and have 2 hit points, making them excellent units for Spain. For Spanish, it is S tier. Better than Demeter, definitely. Those Bull Warriors are just insane. Oh, but it is capped at tier 3. Nah, I gotta give it A tier. Yeah, it's capped at tier 3. Gauls Essus is C tier, as they don't really need Druids. And yeah, with it being capped at tier 3, it can't really compete with a tier 5 set. Numidia has Bal, which is a basic B tier, given that it doesn't actually add any units for them. And for that reason, I'm leaning towards putting it just above Zoroastra. Then again, it is quite good. Do we put it with Zeus? We'll put it just below Zeus. The Sacred Band, however, is an epic, powerful phalanx unit that becomes the main infantry unit for Carthage. Shame they take 2 turns to recruit. It is also capped at tier 4. However, simply due to the Sacred Band, I should put this in S tier. It should go in S tier. But these units become difficult to retrain, as they can only be retrained in tier 4 Bal temples, which drags down the unit's value by quite a bit. A tier, but top A tier. Definitely better than Essus and Demeter, but I can't put it in God tier. The opposite to Law Temples, we have 5 Fun Temples, which provide pure happiness. Julii, Bacchus, Armenia, Anahit, Egypt, Osiris, Seleucids, and Thrace, Dionysius. Is it Dionysus? Or Dionysus? My script says Dionysus. Alright, let's check it on this site here. More adverts everywhere. This is the site I used for all my info, by the way. This video took over 100 hours to script, research, get all the art for. I have pretty much been working full time on this video for 2 weeks now. It's Dionysus, okay. Good to know. They provide 5% happiness at each tier, but at max tier, tier 5, jumps up to 50% happiness. 1 population growth and 10% law, although Armenia does not get tier 5. Overall, happiness is worse than law, as law reduces unrest and corruption, as well as helping with public order. And more happiness can give more negative traits. Overall, every faction has a better temple option, so I will put these in D tier, with Armenia going last. The thing is, you don't really need them. Julii, for example, Jupiter's better. For Egypt, even Set is better, and Horus is definitely better. For the Seleucids, Asclepios and the other one we're about to talk about are better. And for Armenia, yeah, just go Armazd. Law is so much better than happiness, so you don't really need these temples. Oh, and same for this one as well. If you play any of these factions, never build these temples. For the Seleucids, because they don't have a law temple, you might actually just be able to justify it. So you know what? The Seleucids can go in C tier. Now on to the final batch of temples. The military temples. The fun ones, but these can get a bit confusing. First of all, we have Forge temples. Scipii gets Vulcan, Seleucids, and Dacia, Zalmoxis. Tier 1, 5% happiness, +1 attack to light weapons. Tier 2, 10% happiness, +1 attack to weapons of any kind. Tier 3, 15% happiness, +1 weapons, attack, and +1 armour. This is where Dacia gets capped. Tier 4 is the same as Tier 3 but 5% more happiness, and Tier 5 is another 5% happiness on top of that, and +2 experience and +10% lore. These temples start great, but then fall off after Tier 3. They are nice to have in one military city, but that is about it. That being said, it is early game military upgrades, which are very valuable, and as you're going to see going through this, I rank military upgrades a lot higher than everything else. Money is easy to make in the game, population growth is easy to get in the game as well. There's other buildings that provide this, but military upgrade buildings, these are rarer. I think these have to go B tier, but if they got stronger in the later tiers, then these are A tier to S tier temples. Scipii, same with these. Zalmoxis is a tier 3, which does hurt it. I think I'll probably put it below these two lore temples, but it's better than Aphrodite. Basically all military buildings are better than population growth, for the most part. That is my mentality going into this. Unless it's for remaster, of course. This is where it gets fun. Gauls and Spain get the Temple of Epona. Tier 1, 5% happiness, +1 experience. Tier 3, 15% happiness, +3 experience. Experience helps with morale and the accuracy of ranged units. Experience is, I think, one of the most valuable stats you can have in the game. A tier temples. But there is a but. And it is a very, very big but. Gauls and Spain also get Abnoba. Tier 1, 5% happiness, +1 missile attack. Abnoba is capped at 3, with 15% happiness and +3 attack. These are also high A tier temples, so they go there. However, if you recruit a Gallic archer from a city that has Epona, and then send it to a city that has Abnoba to retrain, you get this monstrosity. By far, the most powerful archer unit in this game is not actually Cretans, it's Gallic archers trained in a tier 3 Epona and retrained at tier 3 Abnoba, and they dominate everything. Spain is weaker as they don't get good archers, just nice local mercenary Rhodian slingers, so A tier for both of these Spanish ones. But for Gaul, these two working as a duo, S tier, as it's basically recruitable, more OP Cretan archers, and they're top A tier as well. At this point, I'm actually going to move the meter down to, yeah, it's got to be high A tier. Yeah, I knew it was going to come down eventually. I couldn't do it early on because it is a big step up from OG Demeter, but I think now that we've got a few temples in between them, now I can see it in A tier. Like, you only need one of Demeter. Macedon gets Artemis, which is the same as the missile attack temples, but it goes to tier 5. 25% happiness, 3 missile attack, 10% lore, and +2 to farming. For the missile attack on those Cretan archers, it is definitely high A tier. Does it go S tier? It does get tier 5. The problem is, it drops off after tier 3. Like, tier 4 is not that much of a big step from tier 3. It's like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 is S tier. Tier 4 and tier 5 is a bit lower, but at least it has a tier 5. You can retrain Cretan archers here. Ooh. But then that's just retraining. Macedonian archers are a bit meh overall. You know what, I've got to play S tier, but it's on the lower end of S tier. Definitely better than Demeter. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Scythia gets Kolatsky. This provides 5% happiness and 1 experience per level, but they have nothing to mix and match the temple with, unlike the goals. So sadly only A tier, but it has to be top A tier, because putting that experience on those missile cavalry makes them never miss a shot, pretty much. Oh, I'm so tempted to go S tier though. Do I go? Yeah. Because I think it's better than Artemis. Like, nothing beats the goals. This duo here. These two temples as a duo is beyond S tier. But yeah, I gotta play it in S tier because all of that missile cavalry you're spamming with +3 experience is too deadly to ignore. It's got to be S tier. The Germans get Woden, which again has the same experience stats, but provides Naked Fanatics tier 2 and Gothic Cavalry tier 3. Germans don't need this temple so much for the missiles, which is a drawback, but that Gothic Cavalry unit is insane, and is a must-have on the roster. However, like Carthage's Sacred Band, these essential units become difficult to retrain further away from your heartland, and they take 2 turns to recruit, which drops it from S tier down into A tier. But it is definitely high A tier for the Gothic Cavalry. Does it beat Epona and Abnarba? Are Gothic Cavalry really that worth it? They are actually quite easy to retrain. You only need to get it to a tier 3, which is fairly easy, unlike Carthage's Baal needing a tier 4. Yes, also I have to point out, when you retrain units, you can retrain them with a missile attack damage, but not with the experience, which means those Baleriac Slinger mercenaries you recruit can be retrained through this temple, but not through Epona. So this one goes up. I think it is above Demeter, but this one, Epona, suddenly is a lot weaker. You don't need the experience as much, and you can't use it to get better slingers. I don't know where it's gonna go, because it's getting very complicated now, but it's more mid-A tier. I might... would I rather have Essus? I'll put it just above Essus. Or just below. Or just above. Okay, to be honest, I'm gonna put it there, but I don't know where this goes because I don't really play Spain all that much. But it's definitely an A tier temple overall. Armenia gets Vahagan, Gauls get Teutatis, and Spain also gets Teutatis. 5% happiness tier 1, +1 attack to light weapons, but tier 2, 10% happiness, +1 attack to light weapons, and +1 experience. Gauls get Naked Fanatics as well, tier 2. Tier 3, 15% happiness, +1 light weapons, +2 experience. That is where Gaul and Spain are capped. Armenia has tier 4, 20% happiness, +1 to light weapons, +2 experience, +1 armour, but is capped there. B tier. As light weapons are nice, but they're really not that essential. Let's put it here slightly above Dacia's similar version. And the Gallic and Spanish ones. Ooh, my script says C tier, as Epona just provides more XP, so it's really just a middle ground of Epona and Abnorba. It's just a bit of each, where I think you're better off having one city purely on one city purely on the other, and then just retraining in between. Now, if you're doing a one city only challenge, then yeah, you'll go the middle ground option, but you're not going to be going a one city only challenge with these factions. So yeah, both these factions actually have better options. That makes me think of putting them in D tier. +1 attack to light weapons is good for infantry, but it's not that much beyond that. The experience is pretty useless as well, as you have experienced temples anyway. The best experienced temple. So it's C tier, but upper C tier. Overall, don't go for these. Just go for Epona and Abnorba, and you'll be far better off. Maybe you could have one infantry settlement, but at the end of the day, the only bonus these provide, it's just one attack to light weapons, just +1, and that's it, and then it stops, so it's not worth it. More experienced temples: Brutii, Mars, Germans, Dona, Pontus, Hercules, Macedon, Ares, Britain, Andrasta, and the Greeks get Nike. Tier 1, these provide only 5% happiness, making them look weak on paper. This is an F tier start. But from Tier 2, you get 1 experience per level. Germans are capped at Tier 3, so 15% happiness and 2 experience points. But they get Berserkers at Tier 3, which are an incredibly valuable unit. A tier for Dona, helped mostly by the Berserkers, but limited due to the Tier 3 cap. Now, are they better than Warden? Basically, the question here is, do you prefer Gothic Cavalry or Berserkers? I'm more of a cavalry guy, so I would put them like this. Maybe below Abnorba. Abnorba, retraining slingers with that extra attack is valuable, and I'd take those over some Berserkers any day. Is it better than Remastered Demeter? Yeah, but only just. Britain, Tier 1 here, gets Wold Warriors. Tier 2 has Head Hurlers, which are actually very powerful, if used right. Wold Warriors though take 2 turns to recruit, and are beaten by general generic British swordsmen. And Head Hurlers, yeah, they're nice, but they have limited ammo. But the experience points are really good, and Head Hurlers with experience are powerful, so it's definitely an A tier. But it is capped at Tier 3. You know what, if Epona is here, it's definitely better than Epona. It's better than Essus. Are Wold Warriors and Head Hurlers better than Baal? Plus the experience, yeah, I think it is. And they're easier to retrain as well. Baal, you need Tier 4 for those Sacred Band. These, it's just Tier 1 and Tier 2. Like, it doesn't take that many turns to build them, so you can retrain them quite easily. I'm going to put it above Demeter, but I cannot say they're better than Berserkers. And the Tier 5s, they don't really matter too much, as Tier 4 and Tier 5 stop providing the extra experience boosts. They still have extra bonuses, but the leap is not that good. Also, you have to remember, Cretan Archers, or any unit, cannot retrain experience onto it. So you might think Ares, oh yeah, +3 experience, get a Cretan Archer in there, retrain it for that +3. That's not how it works. It's only for units that are recruited in that city. I'm definitely having to put them in A tier. Yeah, get them all up to A tier for now. I'm thinking of that level of power. For the experience, experience is valuable, even if you cannot retrain. So overall, it's basically, they're definitely all more powerful than Epona. Are they better than Essus? Yes. Are they better than Baal? Rome and Hercules. It's good for them to get good archers recruited from their cities. Brutii and Pontus, I should say. So these two are definitely better. I'll put them, move them a bit further forwards. Do they beat Andrasta? Yeah, experience on archers is good. Does that experience then beat Berserkers? Yes. You can tell it's getting really confusing now to remember what every single temple does. I've spent hours and hours revising for this video. I've treated this like an A-level exam. Can I put them above Abnorba? No, I can't. That missile attack bonus on slingers is just too valuable. I think that is fair for them. Nike and Ares, these guys can just recruit Cretans anyway, so do they need that extra experience on the regular Greek archers, which aren't really that good? I don't think so. Still, it's better than Essus, because that's just a Tier 3 lore temple. But I think Baal's Sacred Band is more valuable than it overall. Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that. Again, you might disagree with the order of these. I probably disagree as well if I gave it some more thought. But the important thing is the separation between S, A tier, B tier, etc. Naval Temples. Dacia has yeah, and Thrace has Ares, different from Macedonian Ares. Tier 1, 5% happiness, another meh. But Tier 2, 10% happiness plus 1 morale. Dacia capped at Tier 3, 15 happiness, 2 morale. And Naked Fanatics. And Thrace goes all the way to Tier 5 with 35% happiness and plus 4 morale. Morale is vital to this game, but only downside here is that the Tier 5 is happiness only, increasing bad traits. It would have been better if, instead of 35 happiness, it was 25% happiness and 10% law. Tier 1 is F tier, but that's just to balance it from not becoming an S tier. The Dacian 1 B tier, due to it being capped at Tier 3, and Dacia can also go Zalmoxis, which is also good. In Union though, recruiting from this temple for the morale boost and then retraining at Zalmoxis makes them both A tier as a duo. So it's probably around here, but as a duo, they do go A tier, and we do work in duos with these, as we did with Gaul. So yeah, suddenly these are, Naval tier. Yeah, I like that. This way Dacia can get very powerful units, but it's nothing that can super shine like S tier. Thrace's Ares has to be A tier on its own, it doesn't require anything else. That plus 4 morale at Tier 5 is really good. That experience provides morale as well. Overall, is it better than Demeter? Yeah. It's also cool and unique, it's like you don't get many morale temples. But I think things like Head Hurlers, Berserkers, that has to go above it. Like, yeah, morale is good, but it doesn't really provide anything else apart from basic happiness and morale, so I can't play it any further. Throw in, like, that 10% lore in there, then, okay, it might start pushing up a bit, and maybe some experience on the end, but nah, it's fine in A tier. And then, finally, there is only one Naval Temple, Scipii Neptune. Tier 1 is 5% happiness. That's F tier. Tier 2, 10% happiness. And that's it. Still F tier. Tier 3, 15% happiness. Still absolutely worthless. There is no temple as bad in the first 3 tiers. Tier 4, 20% happiness, and you get the Corvus Twinkereem. And Tier 5, you get the Decra, 25% happiness, 10% law, plus 1 weapons and plus 1 armour. But that plus 1 weapons, plus 1 armour, you kind of get anywhere through Vulcan, so you don't really need that, that's worthless. The happiness and law, again, that's worthless, you get that through Saturn but better anyway. You have to wait until Tier 4 to start getting the unique units, by which point you can afford a giant fleet of perfectly normal to recruit ships anyway, which can already dominate the seas. And the ships that you do get, they are not even that great. And it's all auto-resolve anyway, as sea battles. There is no reason why anyone should get this temple, unless you just think it's cool to see the boats. But it's a one-off thing you might do on your first Scipii playthrough, and then if you have any brain at all, you never go for it again. You don't need it. Even if the boats actually were useful and came in the game early, you don't need it, because it's all auto-resolve anyway. I'm going to have to create a separate F tier down here just for the Scipii Temple to Neptune. That's how bad it is. It's not worth it at all. And here we go, here is my ranking. The S tier ones are obvious, these two as a duo creates the best archers in the game. Artemis makes your Cretan archers even more OP, and Kolaski makes all that missile cavalry have much better accuracy, and given it's probably the only unit you're going to recruit anyway, missile cavalry, you kind of need it. And yeah, overall, I'm really happy with this. Yeah, avoid happiness temples, avoid Tanit, avoid Neptune, C tier, you might maybe build them somewhere, but they're fairly dull and you can probably get better temples in other cities. But yeah, if you're going to do a campaign playthrough, take a look at these here and definitely take note. I'm happy with this order, check out my video, Top 25 Tips and Tricks of Medieval to Total War, if you're happy with what you learnt today. Anyway, thank you for watching, please leave a like if you enjoyed, but for now, until the next one, MELKOR.